Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz, and this is Ron's Bank Shop Breakdown. We're going to go over 5 college basketball games for Tuesday, January 23rd, 2024. And if you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to put your college basketball picks in the comments section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, including my college basketball Bank Shop best bet, you can find those at the premium picks tab at pickdawgz.com. There's also a link in the description. Alrighty, let's get into it. Here are the games for Tuesday in college basketball. First up, we see Florida State and Syracuse. This one's going to be 7 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be on ESPN2. Syracuse, the Orange, picking up another nice win on Saturday against Miami. They're putting together a pretty decent resume. I mean, no crazy top 50 wins yet this season, but they beat LSU. They beat Oregon at a neutral site. They swept the season series against Pittsburgh, which looks a lot better after Pittsburgh just upset Duke on the road. And they beat Miami in the last game like we talked about. But Florida State's also putting together a solid conference start, a 5-1 ACC, or excuse me, 5-2 ACC record to start conference play. They played some of the weaker teams in the conference, Notre Dame and Georgia Tech, but they also beat Virginia Tech, Wake Forest, and Miami on the road. So, both of these teams, I would say, outperforming their expectations going into the season. In this matchup, I think this is a pretty even matchup here. Neither team great on the boards. Both teams do a good job of forcing turnovers. I do think the Seminoles do a better job of taking care of the basketball, which could show up, could matter in a game like this. But, for me, Florida State, I like the fact that this team gets to the free throw line. Like I said, they're flying under the radar right now. A solid 11-7 record and 5-2 in conference play. I do think they have the coaching advantage in this game, which is not something you usually say in a Syracuse game. But, Leonard Hamilton, I think he's one of the more underrated coaches in college basketball. And Autry's done a great job with Syracuse in his first year. But I do think in a close game, Florida State's played really well in the Carrier Dome in recent years. I do think there's value with the Florida State Seminoles in this one. So I'm going to take the points here with Florida State. I think it's going to be a close game, but I do think Florida State wins the game outright. Next up, we see Kent State and Bowling Green. This one's going to be 7 p.m. Eastern as well. It's going to be on ESPN+. I'm not going to let the records fool me in this one. Bowling Green, 14-4 overall, 5-1 in conference play. They played a very weak schedule this season. Non-conference play, their strength of schedule was ranked 354th. And in conference play, they played some of the weaker teams in the MAC. Yes, they have the win over Ohio, but that was in a game where they shot 50% from three. The other matchups, Bowling Green took advantage of Eastern Michigan, Northern Illinois, Miami, Ohio, and Western Michigan. You could argue the 4 worst teams other than Buffalo. You could probably throw them in there in the conference this season. But now you're playing a step-up game against Kent State, who is battle-tested from non-conference play, played a 140th toughest non-conference schedule. And Kent State just played Akron. They played, before conference play, St. Mary's and Oregon on the road. So I think Kent State's a lot more battle-tested. And I also just think Kent State in general is underrated. The beginning of that game against Akron was a disaster. It was 31-11 lead for the Zips in the towards the end of the first half of that ball game. But give Kent State credit. While they did not win and did not cover the number, they came back in that one, made it very interesting in the end. Only suffered a 6-point loss. I think it's a moral victory in a game like that. A game where you were home, getting blown out, looked like you had no chance. But Kent State showed some character, really put up a fight in that one. I think they're going to be able to build some momentum from that performance going into a game here, a very winnable spot. You can pick up a nice road win here in conference play. I think Bowling Green, when you look at the shot quality numbers, this team is quite overrated in my opinion. And I think Kent State, the better team in most facets of the game. I'm going to go with the Kent State Golden Flashes here. I think they win this one outright. Next up, we see Ohio State and Nebraska. This one's going to be 7 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be on Peacock. Now, Ohio State almost had a pretty bad beat in their last game, against the spread at least, against Penn State, as they were laying around 10.5 points, 11 points, and they won by 12, so it was, really close margin, but it didn't need to be. I mean, Ohio State was up 68-45, a 23-point margin with about 6:50 to go in that game. So, interesting stuff there, but really impressive performance from the Buckeyes, in my opinion. They snapped a 3-game losing streak, and they beat a Penn State team that just beat Wisconsin. So, it's a really nice win there. And in that game, Ohio State scored 79 points, so just under 80 points, despite shooting a measly 3 of 18 from 3, 16.7%, while the defense held Penn State to under 70 points, despite the Nittany Lions shooting 11 of 24 from 3, 46%. It shows me that Ohio State can score sustainable buckets, still put up, almost 80 points in a game where they don't shoot the ball that well, and their defense can put up a solid performance, holding a team to 70 or under 70 even though the other team shot really well from the perimeter. So I think going forward, Ohio State has to like its chances to, continue to improve and pick up some nice wins in conference play. This would be one of those nice wins against a Nebraska team. It's never easy playing in Nebraska. Purdue knows that well. But I think Ohio State's the better team in this matchup, and we're getting value with the Buckeyes because of their recent losing streak and, not great form. I think Ohio State's still the better team in this matchup. I'm going to take Ohio State in the points, sprinkle on the money line as well. I think they win the game outright. Next up, we see Missouri and Texas A&M. This one's going to be a 9 p.m. Eastern start time on the SEC Network. Missouri, it's never easy fading a team when they're already down because, sometimes you don't really get a great price fading that team. But I just got to go with, I got to fade Missouri in this matchup. This team has just been so disappointing this season. They're 8-10 now overall, 0-5 in conference play. This was a team that opened the year ranked 55th in KenPom, now at 113th, and they're not really competitive in most of their SEC games. Yes, they forced overtime against South Carolina, but they lost by double digits against Kentucky, Alabama, and Florida in their last game, and lost to Georgia by 7 points. Not a great loss in my opinion. Now you're on the road against a really tough Texas A&M team that's strong both on offense and defense. They're very efficient offensively, and that's despite not shooting the ball too well. They're ranked 342nd in effective field goal percentage, yet they're still a very efficient offense because they're a super good offensive rebounding team. They get to the free throw line and they take care of the basketball. When those shooting numbers improve, it's not like they're taking bad shots. They're taking really good high-quality shots. When those shooting percentages improve, the Aggies are going to be really dangerous in this conference. And I think in a spot here on the road, I don't think Missouri's offense can keep up. I don't trust the Missouri defense. And like I said, A&M, number 1 in offensive rebounding. Missouri, 334th in defensive rebounding. There's just a big advantage here for the Aggies on the offensive glass. A lot of second chance points. Give me Texas A&M here in a blowout. And the final game we're to talk about for Tuesday's card in college basketball is going to be San Diego and Portland. This one, 9 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be on ESPN+. I think this is the spot for Portland to snap its straight up and against the spread losing streak, as it's lost 3 straight games, all 3 on the road against Santa Clara, St. Mary's, and San Francisco. The St. Mary's and San Francisco games, they were not competitive at all. It made sense. Those are really bad matchups for a team that has struggled this year, both on the court and injury-wise. Portland has suffered, but then they played Santa Clara, and while they didn't cover the number in that game, it was actually a pretty competitive game. It was a close game at halftime. It was pretty close, a single-digit deficit basically throughout most of the second half. Santa Clara pulled away towards the end, but I give credit to Portland's offense. They really showed up in that game, and now back at home here against a much weaker opponent in San Diego, I like Portland's chances here. San Diego ranked 275th in adjusted offensive efficiency. They turn the ball over a ton. They don't get to the free throw line much, and their shot quality numbers on both offense and defense are not good enough to expect them to perform well on the road. I mean, we just saw them lose to Gonzaga at home by a score of 105-63, and that's not, this is not the standard Gonzaga team. I mean, we know Gonzaga has struggled more so this year than they have the last decade or so. So I don't love that blowout loss. I don't love the loss at home to Pepperdine, especially because San Diego was winning that game for, quite a long time in that game. Pepperdine made a nice comeback at the end. But I don't trust San Diego on the road. They played 4 of their last 5 games at home, so they haven't really even been tested on the road in conference play. And I don't like their chances. I like Portland. I think they're the much better team here. But because of their record, we can get some pretty good prices with the Pilots. Give me Portland in this spot at home for a nice bounce back W. And that's it. Those are the games for Tuesday in college hoops. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. And don't forget to put your college basketball picks in the comment section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pick Dawgz Premium. As always, this is Romanelli. Good luck.